What a week. I know we say it every week, but what a weekend it was in the Premier League. That Saturday of results was just ridiculous. Mina Rzouki is here to look back on it. And we're also joined by Jermaine Defoe. Now, there is a saying that comparison is the thief of joy, but given that you're both very joyful people, we feel that we can dent that a little bit by comparing you, because we have 275 Premier League goals sitting on these sofas. Of those goals, these are the ones that Wrighty has scored, 213 appearances, 113 goals. Yeah. 496 appearances for Jermaine, so you were slacking somewhat in terms of your appearances, with 162 goals. But your minutes per goal is slightly better, and you did get 5 hat-tricks compared to 4 for Jermaine. Nice. So how do we feel that balances out?
I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him.
Oh, you've decided to go for patronising.
He scored 30 in the First Division at the time.
Yeah, but before the Premier League.
Yeah.
So it doesn't count. It doesn't count, Jermaine.
But it wouldn't count.
No, Jermaine, they're not real goals. They don't count.
It only started in 1992.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm delighted for Jermaine. Yeah. Delighted for him.
I have to say, though, if football did start in 1992, today, this weekend, has been one of the most extraordinary weekends of results. Yes. Everything on Saturday was just unbelievable. And then it was capped by that game between Tottenham and Liverpool. Now, look, we don't do VAR chat normally because it's very dull. Yeah. By and large, it's very dull. Yeah. It's just people sharing opinions and usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. But we have to talk about VAR after the game between Tottenham and Liverpool, because it was just a mind-blowingly bizarre sequence of events right from start to finish.
And this is when I was watching it and seeing it unfold, I'm just thinking they've got to be more transparent now. It's blatantly obvious that the process, whatever the process is and how they're doing it, it's not working.
So Luis Diaz is flagged offside for this goal, which, fair enough by eye for the assistant referee, flags him offside. Then, as broadcasters, we're waiting to get the pictures through with the line on it as it's going to be checked with VAR. But we're not provided with the pictures. And they're saying checking disallowed goal offside rather than possible offside, which is what is normally there if the goal has been given and then awarded. That's important for later on, by the way. So the goal is just like we're waiting as broadcasters to get the pictures with the lines on to see, because you know that sometimes by eye it isn't always correct. But it's not clear enough to determine that by eye. You get a feel for it, but it's not clear enough. We don't get anything. We don't get anything by half-time. We know that we're not really allowed to draw our own lines on because they're not as finely calibrated as the ones that the official VAR
that they don't use.
No, well, they don't use the broadcast ones because they're thicker and they're more of a sort of blunt tool, whereas theirs are much sharper. Calibrated instrument. Fine. Get to full time, nothing. Then, about an hour after full time in the game, we get a statement from PGMOL that says there has been a significant human error and that VAR did not get involved. Subsequently, there is then a report from Dale Johnson of ESPN that says, my understanding is that the VAR and assistant VAR thought the goal was given and that they were working from that point of view. They thought it was clear that he was onside from the pictures, and so they didn't draw the lines, is the sort of brief explanation of that, all of which leaves, I would argue, more questions than answers.
My brain's frazzled.
You know something?
But that's the point, Mina. It's a difficult one to pick out what's happened and where. And that's often the case. When people make a mistake, it's difficult to put logic on it.
Because they're in there for this reason, and the assistants in there to help. I can't understand how, with the procedure and what you're meant to go through, all the protocols and procedure to get it right for Liverpool, get it right for the fans, get it right for them, let them know what's going on. That's unacceptable. Now, I know we're talking about human error, and people do make mistakes. But I don't think that when you've got everything what's at your disposal, like we do have here, that they should be making mistakes like that. I go deeper. I'm not so. You see some of the incidents, and you think, you know what? I'm not even going to argue. We need to be doing something grassroots level to make sure that we can attract referees to the game, because the way this is going, we've got people at the top of the game who are not being pushed, no accountability for mistakes. Really bad mistakes, and PGMOL still haven't even apologised to Liverpool properly. Serious mistakes that should not be happening. We need to not start worrying about the next incumbent of referees and where they're coming from, instead of us talking about this kind of stuff, because we're not going to be able to do much about this, Kel, simply because VAR is going to be there to stay. Yeah. We're not going to be able to change that. And now we need to find another way of making sure we can get better referees involved.
In terms of the referees, so Simon Hooper, relatively inexperienced compared to Michael Oliver, who was the fourth official, who had been out officiating 48 hours previously
in the UAE.
And therefore, I think there was, and as Darren England, who was the VAR and the assistant VAR, I think, were out there. And that perhaps played into the fact that Michael Oliver wasn't on the pitch for this game, that he was fourth official. But what was the biggest match of the weekend?
And of course, when you think about, I mean, the magnitude of the game, it's a massive game. Two teams that have started the season well, two big teams, and you like to think that you'd have the best referee for those games. It's no different to like a Champions League final. You'd want the best referee or whatever it is, and that mistake, we shouldn't be sitting here talking about that. You know, we shouldn't be talking about the game and the score and stuff. But the fact that we're talking about VAR, it's crazy. But the mistake, I did the game. I was watching it. I'm sort of like waiting for the line because I could see it. It obviously weren't clear, but I had a feeling that we know onside. Yeah, you just know.
You kind of feel,
But we've had those before, and then the lines have been drawn, and you think. So we were waiting for kind of.
But on this occasion, though, I just had the feeling.
Yeah.
Like just seeing it live. I just
thought, a striker's instinct.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah. And you're waiting for the line. It was checked so quick in the game. I was like, what's happened here, sort of thing. It was very strange. Yeah,
it was all done and dusted very quickly. And inside the ground, the VAR caption was up on the screens around the ground much longer after the decision was actually made.
Yes, so you could see the still of the image and defined by the naked eye that actually looks onside. I mean, if I'm applying for a job to be a referee at this point, or if you want to attract better, it seems to me there's just not clear communication between everyone where we can actually have a conversation. Is this offside? What's going on? Is there something wrong in the fact that there isn't a communication that's clear? And on the topic of actually, giving this game to an inexperienced, I mean, we're seeing that in Europe as well, is that some of the big games are being given to referees who perhaps aren't the biggest or most experienced, and it's a way of training them. Obviously, you don't want to train them when it's the biggest match and it has such an impact on, obviously, the final ranking. And it has a financial impact, too, because of how much money you'll make, depending on where you obviously end up in the league. But it's also a situation where there's something that needs to be changed in the hierarchy, something that needs to be changed on a communication level, and that we train referees to the highest level, and that they feel comfortable to have the conversations so that we don't get to the situation that we did now.
Yeah, Brighton fans will know exactly what this feels like because they've had a couple of apologies from PGMOL already this season over matters of opinion and interpretation of law, which PGMOL say were not applied properly. This one is factual. Offside should be clear. It shouldn't. It's a black and white issue. But originally PGMOL said VAR was not applied in their initial statement, and then subsequently they're saying down to VAR being applied, but in the wrong way. So we'll wait and see what comes out officially, because there's a lot to pick apart in all of this. But Liverpool have responded officially. As you said, there's potentially millions of pounds at stake here, depending on what it comes down to at the end of the season. And they have said that they are going to look into potential repercussions here. I think the only reason it could be replayed if it was a misinterpretation of the rules rather than human error, which might be why the story is coming out now about human error and maybe the referee and the VAR just missing it. Anyway, as we've all said, the game itself, and that's all got to be sorted out. But look, the game itself for Tottenham, Ange Postecoglou wasn't glowing about his team afterwards in terms of the performance, and at times they looked like they found it difficult. But for them to win in that way, Spurs fans will be absolutely joyous. They were at the final whistle.
But you could see the atmosphere and the stadium's bouncing, and it's been like that from the start of the season. Tottenham back with the songs and all that. But to be totally honest, I thought Tottenham started really well. No different to how they started in their previous games, on the front foot, energy levels, creating a lot of chances. And obviously, when Liverpool went down to 10 men, obviously conceded here. When Liverpool went down to 10 men, it's not always easy to play against 10 men. I think a lot of people think, you're playing against 10 men, it's easy. I think it's so congested. And even with 10 men, Liverpool created a couple of chances. So obviously, I can imagine the manager's not happy. But at the same time, like I was saying, it's not easy to play against 10 men. You have to sort of get the ball wide, get across in the box, like where the winner came from. And managed to get the win at the end. So a great start to the season.
I think what you have to look at from Tottenham's point of view, and like what Andrew was saying and Postecoglou was saying about, wasn't really kind of pleased with what's going on. I think it's the mentality shift in Tottenham and the fans knowing that we're going to go all the way to the end. You have to look at their record against Liverpool. Liverpool's kind of a bogey team for Tottenham.
Well, they'd never lost at the Tottenham. And it was only 4 games before this, but they hadn't lost at the
But the thing with it is, Kels, is that to play in the manner they're playing now with Ange and what he's done and how he's transformed them up to this point, and they're still in the work in progress of what he's trying to build. And then to get your bogey team to come, you know what I mean, yes, you're fortunate that, you know, for Liverpool, it's unfortunate that they had 2 men sent off. But it's the way Tottenham kept going. And I think that the fans know that they're going to keep going and the players are going to keep going. So what that does, you beat your bogey team, you kind of keep the momentum going. And, you know, you don't know where this can go in respects of how far Tottenham can take this, but they look like a very, very tough team to beat because they're not going to stop coming at that.
Yes, I saw there was a lot of criticism actually for Tottenham. Weirdly enough, I'd heard about them not feeling like they did enough of a good job against 9 men. But I mean, if you remember sort of the Champions League in the year that Jose Mourinho won the treble with Inter, he faced Barcelona and he was down to 10 men, and it became impossible to try to create anything because you just become a really low block that defend for your lives, and then it's very hard to find the avenues. Especially harder when you don't have someone like Perisic to bring on from your bench or different alternatives that can provide the creative outlook that you're looking for to change the momentum of the game or try to pierce through that tough defence. I think that is something that we have to sort of say Liverpool were brilliant, really, in trying to defend, and it's such a shame that obviously what happened with the own goal at the end. But for Ange Postecoglou, the fact that he changes and rotates the front line, and that now you have someone who's Richarlison, who's a number 9, playing out wide, and Son going through the middle, and he changes it every game, and yet you still continue to get a result. Changes. I mean, you have Liverpool's a well-oiled machine. They know exactly what's being asked of them. And they're facing a side that is just so new and yet continues to bring about some really great results.
It's different at Spurs because, like, the midfield now, as a midfield is non-existent with the last few managers. You know, they were very much a deep block, holding, counter-attack team. Now Tottenham will press you high. They'll press you high. They'll win the ball in these areas of the midfield with Basuma. Especially, who's really, really kicked on and doing well. With those guys in that midfield, they'll win, and Bentancur to come back. And then they feed it back into the players now who are now making runs off the ball. You know, Kulusevski will cut inside and cut one into Son, who's playing up as a number 9. You know, it just feels like there's an avenue to the way that they're playing.
I think there's like a football bravery. What I mean by that is the fullbacks come in the middle of the pitch. So it's almost like the manager's giving them that sort of, not challenge, responsibility to go and express yourselves. You know, so they're creating all these massive overloads in the middle of the pitch and they're controlling that central area. Basuma, I mean, amazing. That's the play that we wanted, you know. And because we're controlling that mid area, we spring off that and create so many chances. But it's just so exciting to watch.
It's something that you haven't seen at Tottenham for a few years. Is a Tottenham side that, with the players they've got, no control in the midfield. We probably could say the same. You know, as some say, like how Man United played. No control over the midfield. That's how they played. And like you can see Tottenham were in that place with, especially under Mourinho. You see under Conte as well, especially under Conte, I should say, only counter-attacking football, no midfield involvement. But now, it's totally different.
There's legs in it with Sarr, Basuma, Maddison.
It's such a well-oiled machine in the sense that Son... because Son presses, so he allows greater midfield control because he presses the centre-back so forward and it then pushes them back and that it allows the likes of Maddison to come in and really make a difference. And that's when you know that every department's aware of what their job is to allow the other to thrive.
And when you look at those results, 5 wins and 2 draws is the same as Tottenham had at this stage last season as well. But the key point that you're making, Defoe, Jermaine, it's all got very formal. It's all got very formal in here. Feel free to call me Kate. Is that okay? I've had worse. But the key point that you're making here is that, one, it feels different. That's one thing. But 2, that Ange Postecoglou is constantly saying, this is a developing team. This is a team at the start of their journey, rather than a team that last season at this stage felt like it was having everything squeezed out of them, potentially.
There's a buzz around the place, to be honest, and you can sense it. I think what the manager's done in such a short space of time, it's not easy to get a team from... Obviously, you can look at the results, of course, that's the most important thing, but I think what's pleasing is the performances. When you watch the games, it's exciting. You mentioned players like Basuma, and obviously Maddison's come in. For me, he's been the best signing all summer. I think once he gets on the ball, you know, that's like a trigger for players to, OK, then you come alive now. Because you know like the Sonny goal, when, you know, he gets on the ball, he turns, Richarlison makes a running behind, and the goal comes from that, you know, that little bit of brilliance. That's what he brings to the team. But, I mean, the manager's done an amazing job, you know, in a short space.
It's underrated. It's an underrated effort he's doing at the minute, simply because...
Not on here. You're official Ange fan TV.
Absolutely, major Ange Postecoglou fans. But I remember people saying at the start, he needs to start well. And when you say that, yes, you expect... With the players that he's got, yes, you want him to do well and win some games and stuff, but I did not expect it to be in the groove that it is now so quickly, and not just physically, but mentally as well. They, like you said, they know what they're doing. They've got a guy in James Maddison who is, like you say, Jermaine, as soon as he gets the ball, boom, they come alive, and they know that. You know, the fans know it now, especially at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're looking at a team that know what they're doing, and it's only going to improve simply because, like I say, Benton caused to come back. I think Son playing down the middle is brilliant for them, because Richarlison can easily do that, coming off the left-hand side. Son, in respects of being in the box, Kells, we know that we miss him dribbling and his pace and that, but for a low-touch striker like him who finishes so clinically, I think he's going to score a lot of goals this season.
I actually said that. I think he will score a lot of goals this season. I think, like you mentioned about Richarlison playing wide, to make those sort of runs in behind, he can do that. When Sonny can just play the width for the box and just focus on goals. But I mean, at the minute, it's been great. It's great
that's where all his goals have come from, when he's been playing through the middle. It also makes for a much more interesting title race than I think in these early days of the season we thought we might expect, because now Spurs and Arsenal are only within a point of Manchester City. Liverpool are at a point further back, and it's just opening up nicely for them. And I just wonder what Spurs think they can do. I mean, Ange Postecoglou says, look, I don't give targets, not publicly, and I don't really make them privately. I'm just like, just keep going and seeing how far this can take us.
I think internally, I don't think, you know, the manager will be saying to the players, we can win the league. You know, I think the season's just started. I think it's important to, I know it sounds boring, but focus on the next game. I think when you look at the top teams and the teams that have done it, I think that's the approach that they've always had, probably. You know, focus on the next game instead of sort of like thinking too far ahead. You know, we've started the season so well. There's no need to focus too far ahead. Who's the next team that we're playing against? You know, focus on that and you know, continue playing the same way and then see what happens.
I think what it comes down to as well, Kels, is like carry on doing what they're doing, because nobody is expecting Tottenham at the start of the season, especially with a new manager, to be doing what he's doing now. So that at the moment they've got confidence and momentum, and you've got to just concentrate on the next game, because you look back at when Leicester won it, that's all Leicester did. They just won some games, got to a certain point and said, oh, we'll see what they do when they play like this team and that team. Bam, they beat them. You know what I mean? People saying about Tottenham, OK, we'll see. OK, we started well, but let's see where we are when we've played Arsenal and Liverpool. Bam, look where they are. It's all about momentum and confidence. And while you've got that, and you can continue to just beat the teams what you're meant to beat, supposedly meant to beat, and keep going, then you don't get the injuries to Son and Maddison, which people will continue to talk about. The more success they have, then the pressure starts coming into the squad. Because there's going to come a time, if Tottenham are doing what they're doing now, well, they're going to have to answer the question about title challenges. At the moment, I probably think that the teams in the top 5 are all title challengers. And as long as you could stay, like if you could stay close to Man United, like at 1 point, for as long as you can.
It's Manchester City.
Manchester City. For as long as you can, of course you are challenged.
Now, you can tell things have got serious. Chris Foy, former Premier League referee, has joined us in the studio, and he's got his blazer on, so he means business. And this could get quite heated. Now, look, first of all, before we get into any controversial refereeing decisions, I thought it was a terrific game of football.
What a game.
Yeah.
Great game. And we should be sitting here talking how good the game was. Potentially, we should be sitting here, another Mo Salah assist, a brilliant Luis Diaz finish, and Liverpool potentially top of the league.
But we are not, because at 0-0, as you quite rightly mentioned there, Don, Luis Diaz had a goal disallowed for offside. Just a few hours after the game came to a conclusion, PGMOL had released this statement saying that they acknowledge a significant human error occurred during the first half of Tottenham against Liverpool. The goal by Luis Diaz was disallowed for offside by the on-field team of match officials. This was a clear and obvious factual error and should have resulted in the goal being awarded through VAR intervention. However, the VAR failed to intervene. PGMOL will conduct a full review into the circumstances which led to the error. Right, now, there are reports that VAR checked quickly and they thought, actually, the goal had been given. So they didn't even look at the offside. They could tell it was, it was an error by the referee. And therefore, they said, stick with the on-field decision, which they thought the goal was going to be given at that point. That's a report, unconfirmed. What's your reading of the way this whole played out then, Chris?
OK, so if we talk it through then, so we know that Liverpool score a goal, but before they do, Adrian Holmes, the assistant referee, puts the flag up for offside. The ball's in the back of the net, a goal is scored. We know that VAR automatically checks every goal that is scored, and Darren England looked at that and very quickly came out with the phrase, check complete. That was then translated to the on-field referee, Simon Hooper, who, when he's heard check complete, the last thing he sees is the flag in the air offside, an indirect free kick was given and play restarted.
Surely, at that point, when it was all, I suppose, resolved that there was no offside situation, could VAR not have said to them, don't restart with a free kick, you need to restart in the centre circle, because that was a legitimate goal?
Well, that is the error of judgment, isn't it? That's the mistake by the VAR. I don't know why he came to that conclusion, but it's clearly and obviously a wrong decision by the VAR. And quite rightly, it was onside, and it should have been a goal, but that didn't happen, and we restarted play with an indirect free kick for offside.
Do we know if there was any lines drawn?
I don't know the answer to that question, Don. I don't actually know what happened in the hub, but what I do know is that we should have had a goal rather than an offside decision.
I know I'm going to contradict myself, and I get that I'm going to be in the wrong in terms of the law, but from a common sense point of view, once the referee, or more so VAR, realised there's been a massive mistake and an error, surely, even though Tottenham then kicked off with a free kick, within 1 or 2 seconds, I know the law says no, but common sense surely would prevail, even if Tottenham then take the free kick, for the referee to halt the game and actually award Liverpool the goal. I know that's against the law of the game, but this is exceptional circumstances.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make, Don. I think that once play's restarted, you can't go back. I mean, you can for mistaken identity or violent conduct or insulting or abusive, serious insulting or abusive language. That's not within the laws of the game. So once play restarts, you can't go back, unfortunately.
But if you were in Simon Hooper's position, and I know we're talking hypotheticals, and VAR's just told you, we've just said correct decision, by that we mean legitimate goal, we need you to restart the game from the centre circle, but the game's already started. Would you have restarted or not?
No, you've got to adhere to the laws of the game, haven't you?
You would have carried on.
Well, you've got to apply the laws of the game, haven't you? You can't bend the laws to suit a given situation.
But they've just told you you've just chalked off a legitimate
But if the
goal.
game has restarted, that wouldn't happen anyway.
Right.
That wouldn't that conversation wouldn't take place. But once the game's restarted, you can't go back.
How can they get it so wrong? Like, how can it be like not just in the VAR saying it's a goal, given a goal? That's the simple. You know, there's all these words they use in different lines. You know, on pitch, check, complete, this is complete, incomplete, blah, blah, blah. Just say through the thing, it's a goal, give a goal, keep it simple. Why is it so confusion?
I think he's just looked at it very quickly, from what I can gather, and just come out with the phrase, check complete.
Because I know a lot of Liverpool fans think, why did they not draw the lines? Why did it happen so quickly? They mustn't have done the lines properly, blah, blah, blah. But they've done it so quickly because he thought it's a goal, and they got mixed up communication.
And I think what's even more frustrating, I think, for the viewer at home, or the fan in the stadium around the world, wherever, but you've got the referee on the pitch, which is impossible for him to decide. The linesman, he thinks he's made a legitimate offside call, which I totally get, because that is very, very tight from the linesman's angle. But you've got the VAR and an assistant VAR. So within 2 or 3 people, they can't come up with the right conclusion. That's frustrating. That's a little bit embarrassing.
Well, I think the words, you know, the press release from PGMOL at the beginning of when we started this discussion, you know, it's a significant error. And they've said that, and they're going to investigate why that happened. So in the fullness of time, we'll know more.
I'd like to stick up for the officials for once, actually, on the show as well, because not just because Chris is here, but I think the officials on the field didn't do a lot wrong yesterday. And they're coming in for a lot of flack today in different media and different people.
Yeah.
But they didn't do much wrong. They're going from the information they're receiving in their earpiece, you know. So
I think from Howard Webb's point of view as well, who wants transparency, that's what he said, and that's the right way to go about things. I think it would be nice, whenever it is down the line, to try and hear the audio. Would you agree?
I think
from that situation.
Well, I think we've seen that recently in the Women's World Cup, where we have seen the referee go to the monitor and explain the decision. Whether that will happen in time, I don't know, but people would like to hear the audio, that's for sure.
Yeah. I've kind of sorry. I mean, you're not Mr. VAR, so it's not as if you should be in the firing line yourself. But we haven't had a worse decision via VAR than this one, have we?
This is probably one of the it's probably the most high-profile one I can remember.
Well, look, there were a couple of red cards, of course, in the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's go through both of them one by one. So Curtis Jones, a straight red. Now, first of all, from the ex-pro perspective, was this a red?
Definite red.
Yeah, Shay?
I think we're both agreeing it's a red, yes, endangering the opposition player, and it looks a really bad tackle. But then there's different people speaking yesterday think it wasn't a red, it should be yellow. So then I was asking Chris off air, where does he stand in that?
Before we do that, the freeze frame that Simon Hooper first sees when he goes to his pitchside monitor,
that's not good,
is the bending of the ankle of Yves Bissouma. Now, is that right, Chris? Only because I feel like
I think
it plants a seed of doubt
exactly that
in his head that actually
you're putting it into the referee. The first thing you're going to see,
no matter what you show me in real time, I'm going to see that at the end of it.
He's always going to see that if he requires it.
Yeah, but does he need to sit first off?
It just so happened in that particular game how that happened, because what he will do is he will look at it in real time. Yeah. He's got the ability to look at it in slow motion, and when you see the still, that is to identify the point of contact. So I don't think there was ever going to be a situation there where that wasn't going to be a red card, because Don and I talk a lot about when before we come on.
You can be unlucky, can't you, Chris? As a player, if you're Curtis Jones, and if you're Jurgen Klopp,
he's overstretching, isn't he?
Yeah, he's overstretching. You can be unlucky, but it still can be a red card.
Yeah.
Because Curtis Jones' intent there is to try and win the ball. I've got no doubt. But the fact that he went over the ball and took the man, and if that was the other way around, Liverpool fans would be saying that would be a red card for Curtis Jones. It's endangering the opponent, as Shay said.
It went from bad to worse for Liverpool because they then went down to 9 men, and that's because Diogo Jota got 2 yellow cards, hence a red. The first of the 2 yellows. Chris?
I think Don and I will disagree with this, and this is a decision, I think, that will divide opinion. I think Jota makes contact with Bissouma.
No.
And as a result of that, he actually clips his own ankles and goes down. And Simon Hooper sees that in real time, and that, to me, looks like a foul, and he cautions him for breaking up a promising attack. I wasn't surprised at that, but Don will disagree with me, I'm sure.
Well, it's not Jota that's made the contact. It's an accidental coming together, because both players are running in a normal action. And when Udogie then puts his right foot up, to make his stride, he catches Jota on the knee. When you see it in slow motion, it's the next angle. And then Udogie's own foot here, look, catches him there. Then his own foot hits his own ankle. That's what's took him down.
In defence of the referee as well, his angle, and he only gets one shot of this on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think it's Richarlison, something was actually running across him at the time. So in his brain, I think someone's clipped him, when clipping your heels. And for me, then it's a yellow card. So I do feel for the official again there. When you slow it down, we see 4 different angles. I think it's probably not a yellow, but the referee on pitch gets one chance to see it. And I think he's made the right decision.
OK, so obviously he now knows he's got to tread finally as Jota. Then he does this. I suppose this one is a more straightforward one.
Definite. Yeah, you cannot make this sort of tackle when you're on a yellow card. But can we just point out Udogie on the pitch waving the imaginary yellow card?
Yes.
Who was on a yellow card at the time?
Himself.
Yeah.
So when you wave a yellow card this season, that's an automatic caution, right, Chris?
Who was on a yellow at the time?
Absolutely, yeah.
So he should have also gone.
Well, there can be no dispute of what Diogo Jota's done here. I mean, that in itself is a yellow card. But when you sit on the floor and wave that imaginary yellow card, having already been on a yellow card, he was fortunate not to pick up a second one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing he's probably focused on a second yellow for Jota, and he's maybe not looked at that point. I feel like I'm a referee assistant today.
You're doing a good job, I'm
doing a good job on the wrong sofa. But in his opinion, he's thinking that's definitely second yellow, so maybe he's just focused on getting Jota off. But by the letter of the law, then Udogie should have went as well.
Yeah, but let's have a look at the crucial moment in injury time. Own goal from John Matip. I mean, Liverpool at this point had gone basically 5-3-0 to just basically come away from North London with a point. But what a way to be breached, Shay, at the end.
Oh, it's a sucker blow for Liverpool. I actually felt for the players, because I think it was 25 minutes, when the first Jones got sent off, and you're just grinding it. You're like, it's attack and defence, but it's hard enough with 10 players, but 9 players and 8 outfield players to try and defend for that so long, and then your own player to stick in his own net in the very last kick of the game. And it's just a real, it's a blow for Liverpool, massive blow for Liverpool. And you felt for them, you felt for Matip, but I'm sure his legs at that point were rather heavy, I would say.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because the way the whole game panned out, I think Liverpool come away from this game with a lot of credit in terms of their hearts.
They were admirable.
They were fantastic. Now, the red cards, they shouldn't be red cards, so that's one thing you look at maybe a little bit indisciplined, whatever. But the overview from a Jurgen Klopp's point of view, this team are serious contenders this season. I saw that from minute one. I thought it was a great game. That's what I said before. Tottenham and Postecoglou, they made it a great game because they made it open. But Liverpool, with 9 men, were willing to dig in and show big hearts. And maybe last season, they might have lost that by 3 or 4.
But are Tottenham also contenders?
Well, they are. I mean, Ange Postecoglou, the job he's done. I mean, I've followed him a lot at Celtic the last couple of years, and there's some Tottenham fans are questioning his appointment at the very start, but I don't think anyone's questioning it now. I think he had a motto at Celtic going, "We never stop." And how many late goals have we seen that already from a Tottenham team this season already? So there's big things for Tottenham coming up.
Do you know what? I sense this sense of belief around that stadium, a bit like the way Arsenal were playing at the Emirates last season. Do you know what I mean?
We're going to see some
early
great
days,
games for Tottenham.
Yeah.
We're going to see some 4-3s, 4 and against,
for
3-2s. They're going to be a great side to watch.
Yeah. Chris, thanks for coming in. We'll see you next week. You can get rid of the proverbial tin hat now. OK, let's head to Molineux then for Wolves against Manchester City.
Reason to believe this will be enthralling. I'm Derek Ray, joined by Lee Dixon in the commentary position. And without doubt, a match with the potential to bring genuine excitement. It's AFC Wimbledon up against Tottenham Hotspur.
Hi, Derek, thank you. Well, both managers will be reminding their players how important it is to start off the game really quickly. Really attack the opposition, put them on the back foot, see what comes of that.
To jump in front. In it goes! An early opening statement in this match. And look at the celebrations.
Well, this is worth another look, Derek. Lovely movement and guile to easily evade the defender. And because he's on his own, he collects himself and he finishes it perfectly past the keeper.
One 0 then.
Goal for Tottenham Hotspur, number 10, Harry Kane.
Bale. Kane. Dele Alli. And Son! Well, the post got in the way. Throw in here for Spurs. Dele Alli. Opportunity, Dele Alli. Well, the conclusion, he's missed the opportunity. Well, nicely cut out. Now what can they do with the ball? Kane. Dele Alli. Went in strongly, decisively. Slipshod passing. Well, that's not textbook defending. What a genuine opportunity, but it was squandered. Goal kick. This could square the game. And this situation could be dangerous. And he takes on the shot, but it can't get through.